Chapter 13, Free Banking and the Bitcoin Standard. Before we dive in, I want to commend you for making it through the first 12 chapters. You've absorbed a wealth of critical information, and now it's time to begin breaking down the solution. Woodward wastes no time explaining that the problem is centralization of power directed by the fractional reserve banking system, and the solution is decentralization of power directed by the free market. He reminds us that the financial matrix draws all power to the center, and just like a massive supernova, it eventually reaches a tipping point, gaining too much mass, collapsing, and ultimately exploding into pieces. History has proven time and time again that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's exactly what's happened with the financial matrix, a system that thrives on debt, inflation, and control. It rewards greed, so it's no surprise that many people are happy to play along. The key to breaking free isn't just calling out the corruption, though. It's changing the system itself so that it no longer preys on human weaknesses. And just like a good political system where power checks power, a solid financial system lets the free market keep everything in balance. So how do we unwind the financial matrix? Woodward explains simply. We return to free market money that isn't manipulated by governments or central banks. Think of it as a full system reset, like replacing a failing heart with a strong, healthy one. Historically, two contenders have stood out as solid free market money options: gold and, more recently, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was born in 2009, right after the great financial crisis, as a direct response to the failures of the traditional banking system. People call it digital gold because it has the key traits of sound money, which are: 1, it's decentralized. No government or bank controls it. 2, it's limited in supply. Only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist, unlike fiat money, which can be printed endlessly. 3, it's transparent. Transactions are public and verified on the blockchain. 4, it's secure. It can't be counterfeited or manipulated like traditional currency. And 5, it's portable and divisible, easy to send, break down into smaller units, and store. Pay attention to economist William Stanley Jevons' evaluation on how money evolves. Bitcoin is progressing through these stages just like gold did centuries ago. But unlike gold, Bitcoin doesn't need banks to hold or transfer it. It's both the symbol and the actual value all in one. That eliminates the biggest loophole that allowed banks to manipulate money in the first place. This chapter invites you to envision a financial world where fractional reserve banking and central banks no longer dictate the rules. And here's how. This is very important. Don't miss this. First, Woodward wants readers to recognize that it's not essential to fixate on whether Bitcoin will ever become a widely adopted medium of exchange. Since the emergence of new money forms is very rare, predicting how things will unfold is very uncertain, or whether widespread adoption is even necessary. And while some argue that Bitcoin's transaction speed is a major hurdle to its use in everyday exchanges, solutions like the Lightning Network already address this issue. However, the bigger point here is Bitcoin's role in the back end of banking, where it could serve as a universal standard for settling accounts. Now, unlike gold, which is cumbersome to transfer physically from bank to bank, Bitcoin enables near instant digital settlements between banks worldwide, making it far more efficient. Under a Bitcoin standard, banks could issue their own digital representation of Bitcoin for customers to use, but they'd have to settle those balances with other banks in actual Bitcoin every single day. Banks could no longer create more money than they actually hold because Bitcoin's public blockchain keeps them 100% accountable. This is key. In a free banking system, the moment a bank got caught trying to create extra Bitcoins out of thin air, boom, they'd be exposed publicly. People would eventually lose trust in that bank and stop using it. Just like any other business, when customers sense something unethical is going on, they walk away and the doors close naturally. In short, banking would function like any other free market business: settle your accounts ethically or shut down, period. If all banks had to settle transactions every 24 hours using Bitcoin, fractional reserve banking would collapse overnight. Remember, Bitcoin is capped at 21 million. And unlike the Federal Reserve's fiat system with endless supply, Bitcoin's supply cannot be increased. Woodward also highlights that under a free banking Bitcoin standard, central banks wouldn't be necessary. Each bank would operate competitively, and since they'd have to keep full reserves, they wouldn't be inflating the money supply. The Bitcoin standard proposed by Woodward captures the best of the free banking proposals of Mises with the 100% reserve ideas of Rothbard, effectively ending fractional reserve banking from here forward. Now, back to our vision of an economy with no fractional reserve banking and no central banks. Woodward invites readers to envision a future without inflation. It's an amazing thought. A new era of sorts of financial freedom without central banks manipulating the economy. Inflation would disappear, the money supply wouldn't expand artificially, and the economy would function based on real value, not debt-fueled speculation. Banks would rise and fall based on merit, not backdoor deals with politicians. Now, you can't miss this. As we break down the true cost of the financial matrix and attempt to quantify what we're missing out on, it brings us full circle in this book. Think back to the Pew graphic from Chapter 1. It showed how the surge in the money supply after 1971 created a massive gap between productivity and wages. This explosion of inflation has drained our wealth in ways most don't even really understand, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. Then there's the financial matrix cash flow graphic, also from Chapter 1, which reveals the three-way financial burden we all face. Personal debt drives up household expenses, government overspending leads to higher taxes, and when businesses get hit with those taxes, they pass the costs on to us through higher prices. It's a powerful reminder why Insidious is the perfect title for this book, because this system quietly siphons away what rightfully belongs to us while most remain completely unaware. But when you add up the full cost of debt, taxes, rising prices, and inflation by increasing the money supply, the impact is stunning. Imagine if all those unnecessary costs vanished overnight. It would be as if you 5 times your income. Just think of multiplying your household income by 5. How different would life be? It's a pretty amazing thought. And finally, remember this goes beyond economics. It's about freedom. The financial matrix thrives on debt and control. But every individual who opts for Bitcoin over fiat takes a step closer to breaking that cycle. With every decision to embrace Bitcoin, individuals starve the system that's been feeding off them for far too long. It's time to begin reading Chapter 13.